Mr. Ritchie, what gave you the idea of Artiscrip?
Well, that's a good question. I think it was 4 or 5 years ago when we wrote our will, my wife and I looked around at our mini art gallery that we bought about 10 years ago, and it's filled with all my stuff, my art. And I had the sinking feeling that if I kicked the bucket in a week or so, my poor family wouldn't know what to do with all this stuff. Most families would be stuck. The only thing they could do would be to maybe box it up and store it for who knows what reason. It wasn't selling, obviously, or I wouldn't have it, right? But it's not that my art stinks. There are 400 or 500 people that backed me up over the last 50 years in my art world. And I analyzed why aren't people buying it. And it's partly because most of the people who bought this stuff over the last 50 years already had so much art, they were putting it under their beds and in closets or giving it away to art auctions and that kind of thing. So I knew that there was something wrong here. I had overproduced in a way, or hadn't really marketed and sold or kept dealer relationships like I should have or something. But I also remember too that there are a lot of people like me in my age group, over 60 years old, who are facing the same dilemma finally. We love to make art. We don't really like to sell art. It's a hard job. And ultimately, it's left up to their families to figure out what to do with all this stuff that's accumulated. So I had the idea that maybe collecting art was the fun part, but keeping it was not so much fun, even for the collectors. But the interaction and the engagement of buying art and collecting it is kind of fun. You form communities, you have bragging rights. And so I thought, why don't we take the engagement and the community and the fun of it and turn that into something, and I called it Artiscrip. And I based that on what I discovered is called Artiscripophily, or scripophily, which is collecting documents, old stock certificates and bonds, that kind of thing. They're no good, they're worthless because the companies have gone bankrupt and disappeared. But their certificates were beautiful, and people collected those. So the collector's fun, or game you might call it, is that you buy something that's rare and maybe it increases in value, maybe it doesn't, but it's not a big investment. However, if you buy a 10 by 12 foot oil painting by a name artist, you've got maybe the probability of selling it for more money, but boy, is it expensive to keep. So I thought, why not convert all these things into certificates and sell them either as entire pieces without the obligation of the owner, the new owner, having to store it or display it or whatever, but having the fun of a certificate or even a stamp that indicates that they own that work entirely, which is stored someplace safe, such as in Seattle, and can interact with a network of people who also own this work. And this isn't a kind of anonymous network of, everybody who owns Ford stock, for example. There's millions of people that own Ford stock, but you don't know each other. And you also don't own anything of Ford. Like you can't point at that Ford and say that Ford is mine, or that, it's nonsense to compare those things. But the world of art is kind of based on dreams and nonsense and hope and ambition. And I think those are the things that I wanted to tap into. I've always wanted to tap into people that are interested in art, interested in talking about it, speculating about what it means, and creating it, or learning how to create it. So those are the things that make the art world interesting. After the sale or the purchase and the collection of art sets in, however, you have a whole other kind of world. And I think that Artiscrip is my effort to create a kind of a meta world around the collecting and the enjoyment and the understanding of art. It becomes an educational thing, and I am, after all, a teacher first and foremost. And Artiscrip is my latest research project in art. And so I started Artiscrip. I'm building a website and building the rationale and hopefully an entire platform that not only this thing that I'm creating for myself and for my family, but could actually be replicated and shared by a whole big population of artists. That was a good question.
What I'd like to know is Artiscrip supposed to be an investment idea?
The question is this supposed to be profitable? It is supposed to be profitable. In my case, what I want to do is to make it profitable, to make it so it can employ more people for all kinds of work, coding and curating and communicating and customer service and all the rest that goes with any business. But I want the end result to be a fundraising, kind of like crowdfunding, where people are contributing relatively small amounts of money for Artiscrip or parts of artworks. For example, a 10-inch by 10-inch artwork might be 100 square inches, so 100 people might own that artwork, and maybe they put in, $15 or $10 or $2 or whatever, and you do the math and you come out with a number of people owning this work and a whole structure of ways that people can communicate and know about one another, what one of my friends called like a community of owners. The profits from that would be used to finance the production of my favorite idea, which is called the Printmaking Teacher in a Box. Everything a teacher and a learner needs to enjoy printmaking. That's my thing. And this is an example of the prototype for the Teacher in a Box with a mini half-wood press and all the ink and supplies and, importantly, instructions for teaching and learning printmaking. So to develop this product would take a lot of money, quite a few people to develop it appropriately for the times and to market and sell it. And you're creating jobs, and also you're making an educational contribution. So financing that would be by Artiscrip. That's my plan, that's my strategy, and it's the way I can invest my stuff, my productions over the last 50 or 60 years to finance my new productions, which would be the Printmaking Teacher in a Box. That's my favorite question. What would we do with the money? We would finance the development of the Printmaking Teacher in a Box. Thanks for watching. I'm Bill Ritchie.
Well, that's interesting. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ritchie, and good luck.